All right, let's get to our first review, Matt.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage as Dracula. Full stop. That's the entire review of Renfield. That's all you need to know, Ryan.
That is it.
I'm just kidding, of course. The director, Chris McKay, who also gave us the Lego Batman movie and more recently the Tomorrow War, helms a bloody horror comedy about the familiar or slave-like assistant to the big bad Dracula. Vampire movies can be a real hit or miss, so Ryan and I wore our garlic turtlenecks to the theater to find out if this movie sucks blood or just sucks. Nick Cage has stated in interviews that Dracula is among his 3 most sought-after roles. And at this stage in his career, it's the role he was born to play. In fact, one minor criticism I have of the film is that I could have used a lot more Dracula. He's in it a fair amount, but I could have just used a hell of a lot more. As it stands, every scene that Cage's Dracula is in oozes with the evil charm that character is famous for. Nicholas Hoult, the other Nick in the movie, plays our hero, Renfield. Renfield is in a support group for people in toxic, codependent relationships. This is the place that he uses to find victims for his boss. But lately, he's been having second thoughts, and he starts to realize that he too is in a toxic relationship. Comedy ensues. Holt does a fine job in this horror comedy alongside the consistently entertaining Awkwafina, who plays a frustrated cop out for justice in a corrupt city of New Orleans. Another minor complaint that this character does not stretch Awkwafina whatsoever. This is very much cookie cutter, easy role for Awkwafina. I'm not saying she phones it in, does a fantastic job, but this is an Awkwafina we're very familiar with, and that's okay for the most part. The story comes from Robert Kirkman, who, along with Cage, should really get people excited. Kirkman, of course, created The Walking Dead, and the tone that he sets is bloody, gory mix of comedy and horror. The laughs land alongside stylized vampire action that spews bucket of blood in a nearly cartoonish way, but damn, was it some glorious eye candy. This is not gritty, realistic vampires, no. This is a full-on B-movie on steroids. Dracula is the classic version, more Bela Lugosi than Gary Oldman, and it works. The backdrop of New Orleans and its crime syndicate as the antagonist was just plausible enough to fit into my suspension of disbelief. I had fun with where this plot took me, and there were some rather unpredictable beats that Kirkman was able to pen. Speaking of the criminals, right? Ben Schwartz plays a character, Teddy Lobo, who's heir to the underworld throne. He gets a decent arc in the story, and Schwartz plays it so over the top that there are a few scenes that I thought he was even stealing from Dracula, believe it or not. So if you're into buckets of CG blood, stylized action, classic vampire tone with a healthy heaping of laughs on top, then you'll not want to miss Renfield. I would definitely be up for a resurrection in a sequel.
Wow, a sequel you're talking already. I agree with you, Matt. Seeing Nick Cage as Dracula was worth the price of admission. He's clearly having a blast with it, and he sets the tone comedy-wise for the entire movie. They're feeding off of his energy in there. Nicholas Hoult is great in there, and you're right. Awkwafina is hilarious. They don't need much from her here, so that's why I don't think they stretched her character that much. They just needed that character to add a little bit more comedy relief to the
she's the human. She has to be the relatable one.
Right. Yeah. There's no superpower with Awkwafina. So she adds her typical laughs that we're going to get from her. But you're right. Not much of a stretch there. The gore is played for laughs, not so much scare. There's not really that much gross moments. As gory as it is, it's not very gross. You're laughing along with it more than anything else. My minor complaints here are that the action scenes seem to lack inventiveness. They could have done maybe a little bit something more there. You talked about this being a glorified B movie. I felt that they took sort of the easy road, and the action scenes just seemed generic, is the best way to say it. Come up with some type of new technique or a way to shoot some of these action sequences that would have been a little bit more exciting to the film.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and kind of disagree with you on that one. We saw somebody. Now, first of all, the CG blood, I am never a fan of CG blood. Let's get real blood. That would have been so much fun splattering real blood around, because it's
let's actually kill people on film. I agree with you. Yeah.
No, but real blood always better. That aside, we see a face get ripped off, hilarious. We see somebody's arms get ripped off, and then the next person is beaten with those arms, and the arms are flung not once but twice through people like javelins. Somebody gets limbs severed by serving trays.
Okay.
There's
You
enough inventiveness here. I disagree.
you're picking out the best details of the movie, so don't spoil everything for
Okay,
the listeners here. But I
fair
will
enough.
say I'm going with like some of the action scenes as far as the shooting of the guns, or yes, the diner scene does have the severed arms, which was great, but there's a lot of generic moments I thought in the action sequences as well. And the other minor complaint is the film kind of felt small. It has such a short runtime of 90 minutes that it felt like it was kind of a minor work. Let's see a little bit more of this world that they were in. I very seldom am on this podcast complaining that a movie is too short, but damn it, I'm doing it here with Renfield. I could have used it to be about another 10 minutes longer. It would have actually added to, I think, the story. They should have.
There's a few rough transitions, in my opinion. Did you get that too, where the editing was just a little bit off?
Sure.
Definitely not a contender for best editing Oscar, but Cage does so much to elevate this movie. The minor criticisms we have, and I think we were all expecting the tone that we got. This is not Francis Ford Coppola vampire movie. Not at all. It's the guy that directed Lego Batman, and Robert Kirkman, who's known for comic books writing. Perfect. I mean, and Nicolas Cage, boy, I want more Dracula from him.
Okay, so Nicholas Hoult plays the title character Renfield, and
Right.
I was asking you as we walked out of the theater. I myself was not that familiar with the character. I'd never read Dracula, to be honest, or if I
Right.
did, I was a very young, person and don't remember it very well. And I did see Bram Stoker's Dracula as a minor character in there, but not enough where I remember this character so well that I knew what kind of powers the guy has and his little idea that he has to eat bugs and so on and so forth. Were you familiar with the character more so, and did it stay true to it all?
Was I familiar with Renfield? Yeah, so I'm familiar enough. I have read Bram Stoker's Dracula, and obviously I've seen the Francis Ford Coppola movie 3 or 4 times, and he's always been a minor character in that tale, but this is a deeper exploration of him. But all the things that they basically say about him, he's a very pathetic creature. You can almost think of him as like a Gollum type creature, where he's so far from being redeemable. Obviously, they play it a lot more for laughs, and he has to have some sort of redeeming quality in this movie. But the thing with the bugs, where he has a piece of Dracula's powers to keep him alive through the centuries, that's all straight out of the book. That's canon, as they say.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done.
The theme and message of the movie, as far as the codependency goes, with Renfield going to the support groups, I thought the very first time it was played well and it was funny, but clearly they went back to the well like 2 to 3 times that he goes to this group. There's a great callback joke with one of the members in the group trying to tell her story that I loved. But as far as the message and the theme go, did that work for you, or did that feel like they were just trying to shoehorn that in?
No,
I felt a little shoehorned.
I didn't feel shoehorned. A lot of times when they show this cliche in a trailer, it's just like a one-note joke, but the support group is actually pretty central to the story. It does come up like in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the movie. I didn't find it to be shoehorned. No, I mean, it was just more than I was expecting from that comedic situation, but I don't think they over milked it.
Well, I mean, at the end, he talks about, his codependency and so on and so forth. Like the movie really had a message about that. I felt like that was his spiel to us at the end, but I didn't think that really came through as the film itself, I guess is my point.
Well, are you saying that the social subtext of toxic codependent relationships was not well done in the movie, or it was just tacked on?
It was just tacked on. That's what I meant by feeling like shoehorn. Like they're just tacking that on so that the film has a message, even though does it really have a message of any substance? It really was a movie that we were laughing at with all the gore and the silliness and Nick Cage's Dracula.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, Renfield is such a pathetic codependent character from literature that yes, well, I totally agree with you that the message is a little artificial and maybe a little tacked on. It also really fits the mythology of Renfield. So I don't know where else they could have possibly taken this.
All right. Well, how about a jaw-dropping moment, something maybe we haven't highlighted? I'll go first here.
Go ahead.
And it's seeing Dracula. This is Nick Cage, and seeing Dracula, well, he is not quite up to his full form. So when Dracula gets injured, depending to the degree of his injury, he needs fresh blood to regenerate his body. And there is a scene in this movie that shows Nick Cage in this wild makeup. And kudos to the makeup in this film. I thought they did a wonderful job with a few different times with the makeup with Dracula and a couple other characters. Here we see Nick Cage's face. It's still kind of not fully formed, and he's talking to Renfield. I love that scene. Just thinking how much makeup was on Nick Cage's face. Brilliant.
He did a fantastic job. The makeup guys did a fantastic job. What I actually have two jaw-dropping moments. The first one I want to point out is there are some shot-for-shot scene remakes where I don't know for sure, but they may have even used the backdrop from the classic 1931 Dracula, the scene where Renfield walks into the castle and meets Dracula for the first time.
Interesting.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. I went to YouTube just to rewatch the scene to see how close it was. It's a perfect match. It looks great. And even the way they light Nicolas Cage's eyes, the exact way they did Bela Lugosi's eyes. Wonderful. So fans of Dracula will appreciate those little details. And my other jaw-dropping moment is the second, I don't know if it's the second, but the when Dracula finally goes to the support group meetings and he does this whole little spiel. I was shocked at just how evil he was, you know? And then the scene goes to a place that put the horror into the comedy. I was not expecting what happened. And I don't want to spoil it because it's one of the best horror beats of the movie. But it's a gory scene, that's safe to say. And it came out of left field, didn't expect it. It was pretty brutal. And I was a little shocked. Like, that's what shocked me the most.
I like that scene as well. Let's go for a movie poster quote here. I went with a great Cage double feature with Vampire's Kiss.
Oh, beautiful.
I mean,
beautiful.
This man has two great vampire movies under his belt now.
Please give us more, Nick Cage. Please give us more. I went with, now we know the answer to Nicolas Cage. How can you even look at yourself in the mirror? Because you can't, he's
True.
a vampire. Yeah.
I like it. You had to think on your movie poster quote,
Yeah. It's a joke grenade. You pull the pin and
got it.
Yeah. Goes off in a little bit.
We're on a 4-jaw scale. How many jaws, Matt K?
I'm going 3.
Ooh, all right. I'm at 2.5. I enjoyed it as well. If you guys see Renfield and you agree, disagree, just want to comment on this review, shoot us a tweet. We're at CinemaJaw. Our email is feedback@cinemajaw.com.